Welcome back. We are here with Randy from Caris Media Group, the publisher of Bowling Green Living. Randy, how are you?
Not too bad. Just getting ready for the holidays and a little bit of time probably spent with the family because it's been quite a busy season for me getting things up and running and launching my first edition of our local community publication. And you know what? The work that's been a part of the process has all been worth it and
Yeah,
already getting a lot of positive feedback. So can't complain too
yeah.
much.
Well, thanks for having us in the courtyard, making me some tea. So I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.
Um, so you started in the music industry with DJing and things of that nature. How did your background in branding with music transition to you being a magazine publisher?
Yeah. So essentially, I wanted something that was original when it came to music and kind of figuring out what was a good way to, you know, kind of, I guess, kind of just, start out. So I was a big fan of Marshmello, who at the time was, relatively well known and, looking at like how his Twitter handle was Marshmello Music. So it kind of had that alliteration to it. I came up with, if people know me by my DJ name, it's Rakala, which is quite literally like my first initials once and then the second letter of my initials once. And it was Rakala Rhythm. So it had that alliteration and it was me, it was original. And, kind of just going from there. I mean, I've, slowly built my brand into something where it does reflect who I am a bit more. Including like my passion for, let's just say, fishing, because people who know what my logo looks like now, it's essentially a fish with like the bones spelling out Ricala, and there's a bait hook that is a musical note, so all sorts of stuff like that. But having a strong brand in the music industry is kind of critical when it comes to the long-term play, because a lot of artists nowadays, you're not making the most money when it
No.
comes to certain gigs and things of that nature. A lot of it does eventually boil down to, once you get that following, like, can you sell products with whatever image it is that is attached to you on it. And long-term goal, that's going to be something that I look at getting back at eventually. But it's been beneficial to me to also kind of coach individuals I sit down with, whether they're potential clients or just prospects that I'm meeting with, about what branding is, as opposed to like the whole advertising perspective
Yeah.
and marketing. So yeah.
And how lucrative is the magazine publishing business?
In terms of what we do, I mean, I think we've got a solid product because we're doing not just print but also digital, and that's kind of come from a lot of the feedback of our clients. So we're more than just a magazine, but I will say, in terms of like a local perspective, there's other community publications out there. Some of them, ran by other groups that are like, I don't know, lifestyle or into publishing, or I mean, even in my case, there was another bowling, like, well, BG Living, I should say, that was out there that kind of like caused me some confusion, because market research, it's like, you know, I live in a certain part of town where I probably wouldn't have received it, but it's something that is coming back, I would say, in terms of the print industry, because I think a lot of people like something physical they
Yeah.
can hold, and you can't fake results there.
And how important do you think getting the local community involved is when it comes to growing a business?
That's honestly a really crucial part of something, especially if it's going to be, reflective of the community, which that's what our publications are. Since we're taking families from the local area, we're putting them on the front cover. We're telling their
Yeah.
story, and then ultimately, like, that's why people open the magazine, because it's someone they know of or want to get to know. And so once they're in and involved, they start flipping through it, and all the content just is also from the community. So it's very much very much an important part of like what has just been the secret sauce for our line of magazines here in Northwest Ohio.
And why do you think telling that story of families, in your magazine is so important for you guys?
Well, there's just powerful impacts that you can't put a price tag on, especially if someone wants to bring up like an ROI objection. The coolest thing when I was actually initially getting hired in and training for this role as, like I said, a publisher, is the story that they tell all of our, I think, new trainees across the nation. Since, like I said, we do have about, well, we're over 1,400 magazines in the U.S. and Canada right now, but
Wow.
the story that really connects in terms of like the emotional impact happened in Perrysburg, where think it was like an 84-year-old gal who was all alone in life, got the magazine and just so happened to find out that she was related to that family on the front
Wow.
cover. And so Michael was able to kind of reconnect the two, and that's the powerful bringing people together message that we like to make sure is like well understood. Like this is something that is great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think hearing those stories just makes it worth it, right? Like it's more about you impacting people, and especially when you have something that powerful, it's like money's cool, but look what I'm doing with my business, with the magazines. Like look what I'm impacting, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I think that's a main driver, and it gives you a reason besides making money.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think if that's someone's incentive right away, like they're not gonna be around long. Like they won't succeed. Because even someone for me who's always worked like warehouse type jobs or had a boss, like it was a difficult process to kind of transition into that role. But I'd say by God's grace and faith alone that I just started to kind of really realize like what it is that I can do here in this community, and some of the stories that ought to be told, that
Yeah.
need to be told and aren't being told, well, we're going to change that. So I like it. Like I
Yeah,
said, I like what I've been able to deliver so far.
that's beautiful, man. And when it comes to businesses, they can make content for free on social media at no cost. Why would they want to advertise through your magazine and pay something versus just making their own content on social media?
Right. Well, I think the key detail there is, something that you kind of hinted at, pay something. Well, when it comes down to it, there's that some people have said time is money. Well, that's not the case. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. And the reason that, they'd probably want to pay us is, well, for one, if the market that we're reaching is ideal to their business or organization, then, we have a great way to make sure that they're physically present, in something that they're probably not already doing. So the more that they can do in terms of say print and digital together, that's great because I mean when you combine the two, just to make sure that hey, people are seeing you offline and online, it does have a more powerful impact in terms of like people being aware of who you are and what your business is. So
And
yeah.
I think as things go more digital, as things go more I think people are going to be craving the physical copies of things more, and they're going to want to, I think, bring back like that old school of like getting the newspaper on Sunday, reading it, those type of feel type things where, especially the older generation where they are really used to that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's already kind of been reflective of what I've gotten feedback wise from some of the neighbors so far, and even on top of that, I mean, coming from the music background, like I said, and some of the underground music, like I know certain numbers online can be faked,
Oh wow,
like
one hundred
like
percent.
plays for certain tracks and things like that, because who's to say like what numbers that they're getting impression report wise is actually 100% truthful. Whereas when I say, hey, there's these magazines are going to each of these individual houses in this area, and you can go there and actually see it, it's like there is that essential backing of the like proof is in the pudding, the receipts are there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good other way to kind of tie into that. So yeah.
And what is one lesson you learned during your music journey that has now transitioned into you, really wanting to build, like a brand for other businesses?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, because that's kind of what I was doing with some of the artists here, as I've mentioned before, helping them build their brand and get content. Because especially when it comes to content pieces, like that is one of the best ways to market their individual self as an artist. And that also tying into what a business wants to do for say getting their message out there, whether they're some sort of like big chain franchise or just a local mom and pop shop. Like there's so many people that could probably use their goods if only they knew they existed.
Yes.
So
I think that's everything is visibility, right? Like,
absolutely.
especially for a small business, they need visibility, they need awareness. People need to know they exist. And I think there's a lot of hole in the wall type mom and pop shops that people don't even know exist.
Hmm.
And they just need to get out there, tell their story. If that's through a magazine, if that's through a podcast, if that's through digital marketing or content creation, I think that's the main thing is awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with you being a DJ and being in the music industry, What is your opinion on music being used to lower society's vibrations and consciousness?
Hmm. So there's genres out there for just about anything. You see the process of where music originated and where it is to this day. Um, it's interesting. In terms of like the local conscious, I mean, because I've also done club DJing and stuff like that not too long ago. There's obviously a socialization aspect that kind of comes with that brings people together, but there's also like a certain message behind it that if you're not kind of rooted in your faith in a certain way, that like it can definitely lead people down the wrong path of
Yeah.
what's important in life. And as somebody who, I mean, you'll cater to the crowd, but at the end of the day too, like there is stuff that I do enjoy playing that not more so nowadays, like I try to focus on that whenever I'm gonna be taking up I guess a gig or
Yeah.
things of that nature. So yeah, I guess that's the best way to really kind of put it for today's industry's take on where it's at, I guess.
Especially with the rise of like in the late 1900s with the rise of gangster rap and all of those negative messages pushed, especially when it comes to the club settings and things like that.
Hmm.
I think there definitely is a undertone.
Yeah, some of that was poetic though too, because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they were telling their story. There was a struggle there, and some of them wanted a way to express that. And I mean, that could also be a way of like looking at what we do here. When I say some of these business owners, we have ways of kind of telling their story in our magazines, and kind of letting the community know like, hey, like this is someone who's not only helping bring this publication to your door every single month, but this is their background. This is what they went through. Because as someone who's kind of like I said, oftentimes had it pretty easy when it came to like the business world, like this was rough for me.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine what it's been like for some of the other people I sit across from throughout every single week. So
Yeah.
yeah, really interesting.
And you had a chance to go to a monastery with monks for a day. What is one thing that you learned spending a day with monks?
Oh man, there's just a quiet there that you just have to go experience, because it's hard to describe. Because like I said, I do fish quite a bit. I have some spots that are off the beaten path where it's quiet, but to kind of be around that quiet of what the monastery that I visited, which was St. Gregory of Palamas. It's Greek Orthodox monastery, just a little east of Mansfield area, but it's unique. You're just away from the noise, and that's honestly one of the things that the abbot there talks about too, because in modern society there's a lot of noise, and it's almost like us as humans need to realize, like, when you go there, it's almost weird. It's like, why is it quiet? What is this quiet?
Yeah.
Like my phone's not going off and things like that. And to not be used to that is almost not natural. Like it's kind of like there's so much bliss that you know they enjoy with their day-to-day activities, and they could care less about what's going on in the world today. So they're free of that distraction.
What I find interesting is how they find, like you said, this blissful joyness in the everyday mundane tasks.
Right. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's part of their part of what they realize is even let's just say from an example of when it comes to modern day gyms and weightlifting, like the ultimate goal, honestly, someone should probably have in that regard, and instead of like trying to like all that vanity and
Yeah.
appearance, it's you should be physically fit because you should be ready to help serve someone. Like if there's an older gentleman who falls down, or some lady who needs help carrying something inside, like that's the ultimate, like you know our bodies are meant to serve a purpose that is positively moral, I guess, in a sense. And that's another great thing of like visiting a monastery. You see like these guys are just staying active and
Yeah.
doing stuff that is productive at the end of the day.
What does loving yourself look like to you?
Oh man, you're gonna bring that up after the monk question. Loving yourself, like I said, taking care of yourself, because as I'm getting more and more connected, like I said, in my faith and things of that nature, it's living in the image of God, essentially, at the end of the day. And realizing what you know what that whole story is, because obviously I've mentioned, like, I visited Greek Orthodox monastery. I'm personally Russian Orthodox, but there's a lot of saints out there too, where we can kind of read their stories of how they did exactly that, or some of the things that they went through. Like, maybe, even in modern society, something is just, if there's a lot of people saying, boo this, boo that, and yet it doesn't seem morally right because maybe there's some sort of what is it, tribal behavior. Well, there is a certain, activity of loving yourself by, helping love others that, don't necessarily realize, what they're, kind of doing, I guess, if it's, negatively reflective of what it means to kind of be, one with each other and help out others, I guess, kind of like the golden rule.
I have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with two people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
Trump and Chris Farley.
Start with Chris Farley. Why?
Oh, he's funny. I don't think you can. Uh, I don't think there's many ways to kind of describe that. What he brought in terms of his talent and just natural acting abilities and kind of sporadic. There might have been a little bit of a substance that assisted in that behavior, but he just seems like a funny guy. Then Trump, because when it comes to branding, even before he was a president and had to go through all that rigmarole that basically is, like I said, part of modern society these days. Like, he was a branding genius.
Yeah.
And I think one of the quotes, there's a video online, it's either called 13 or 12 minutes that could change your life. And it talks about exactly that, where I think one of the really positive or really impactful quotes that, like I said, ties into kind of what I do is, he said, he knew like 6 different singers that were better than Frank Sinatra if only people knew they existed.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to, like I said, building your brand and your business, you got to have a great product at the end of the day. You got to have, the proper ratings and stuff like that, but you also have to be known. You have to kind of get out there in the press, whether it's, like I said, something local or, something radio, billboard. Like I said, you never know where someone's going to first, kind of find out about your business at the end of the day. So, I've also kind of tied it in with the example of like the Nike logo. We all know what that is, but do we know when we first saw it? Probably not. So, yeah.
I have one more question.
All right.
Why did you decide to partner with us and offer the discounts?
Well, essentially at the end of the day, this is something that you broke down in a way that it makes sense. You're, out here hustling and, like I said, I got to respect that. And then on top of the fact that when we first met, you had already met the other 2 publishers that I've kind of been, working alongside underneath here in Northwest Ohio. And, just it makes sense. There's a lot of positive ways that, I want to also be able to give back at the end of the day when it comes to what I do. And, to see someone who's, able to say, hey, some of these other businesses that are out there that are taking your part of your money and then, charging you to, I guess, charge less or do these coupons and things. It's not necessarily beneficial for them, long term. Don't get me wrong. It does have a play into it,
Yeah.
but what you're working on developing, it's nice. So it's kind of like, I believe in it. So heck with it. Let's see what happens. Let's build something up on both ends, and if nothing else, we can be better referral resources for one another. Is what I probably would say is most fortunate for us.
That's the goal. I mean, if we can both win, we're going to succeed, right? If we can help you win, then that means we're probably winning
Yeah.
at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So those are all the questions I have, Randy. How can people find you? And what is one thing you want to leave people with?
I usually respond to carrier pigeons or smoke signals, but no, honestly, LinkedIn, there's a little bit more professional picture of me. Obviously, you probably weren't expecting me to dress like this, but I just wanted to be relaxed and kind of
Yeah.
show who I am. So LinkedIn's a great way. Or there's like landing pages for Bowling Green Living that should link them to my email directly, along with a phone number that they can kind of contact me. So pretty easy to get a hold of.
Perfect.
So,
And what is one thing you want to leave people with?
one thing I'd want to leave people with. Oh boy. I mean, when it comes to their business and maybe some of the things that they're doing, if they're a business owner at the end of the day, they should almost like make it their responsibility to be aware of all the options that are out there, whether it's something that's a good fit for them or not. Don't turn down every single salesperson necessarily right away if it's someone new, because there could be something that could help change their life at the end of the day. Kind of like, I mean, I just applied for the position on, um, it was either Indeed or something, just thinking, oh, what's this thing? It kind of sounds my ballpark. And I mean, it's been the most amazing
Yeah.
journey that, I've, well, taken upon. So I guess just, kind of, try to be more open to seeing what's out there. And if they need help when it comes to, let's just say, even funding and startup of their business, well, there are people out there that will help them with that, whether it's loans or things of that nature. But you got to start with just being that humble and having a bit of humility. Get rid of any of that pride that's around, and ask for help. And hopefully, by God's grace, they get it. So,
Awesome. Well, Randy, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.